Hello and welcome to this month's episode of Pro Spotlight, where we feature our tax pros, the people that make filing your taxes easier. I'm Christian Ortega, and on this episode we have Robert Cole from Indianapolis. Robert, how are you doing?
I'm good, Christian. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you for being on, Robert. So, getting started, where did your background in accounting come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I guess I chose a career in accounting for a few reasons. I've always had a strong liking for numbers and problem solving related to financial data. So I naturally gravitated towards a field that would allow me to use those skills. Secondly, accounting is a fundamental function in almost every organization, whether it's a small business or a multinational corporation. In the field of accounting, there's a ton of potential for career growth and advancement right now, while also offering a good amount of flexibility. So those are probably the main drivers that got me to choose a career in accounting.
When did you decide that accounting would be the right career for you?
Yeah, so I decided that would have been the second semester of my freshman year of college. I actually wanted to go be a doctor originally. Quickly realized that I didn't like biology and chemistry all that much. I had a few friends that were business majors, and sitting down with them and looking at, their classes, their assignments, their homework, kind of naturally drew me to the field of business and accounting.
Where did you go to college?
I went to IUPUI.
And when you're sitting down looking at, the coursework that comes from biology, can you dive into a little bit more specifics about what turned you away from that and how it is that you discovered accounting as something that would really fit your lifestyle and what you wanted to pursue as a career?
Yeah, so I think for me, the one of the main drivers was that I've always enjoyed math and the problem solving aspect of accounting. Whereas maybe more in biology and chemistry, there can be multiple right answers, where in accounting, there's really only one right answer. So the idea of treating an accounting question as a puzzle was really incentivizing and enticing to me to make that career change.
When you're looking at accounting from the perspective of problem solving and a puzzle, how do you explain that to somebody that is unfamiliar with the industry?
So I think it's one of those where you have few pieces of the puzzle that are known, right? And our job as accountants is to try to not necessarily find the unknown, but find a way for all the pieces to fit. So whether you're trying to balance a balance sheet or create an income statement or a statement of cash flows, it's kind of like a historical view of, this is what these are the transactions that occurred in the company. Now, how do you tell that story of if that company was profitable? And to me, taking the pieces and using those pieces to help tell that story, I think is what's always drawn me into accounting.
When you're in college, how did you picture the accounting industry?
Instead of, being at a desk, crunching numbers, being siloed off, there's a lot of collaboration that goes into the field of accounting. Whether you're working with outside business partners, maybe some business partners that are inside your own firm or own company, whether it's your audit department or your tax department, compliance or consulting department. It really takes a whole team to be successful in the career of accounting.
How did you start off working?
So I've been a CPA for about 4 years now. I spent the first 3 years of my career at a more regional CPA firm in Indianapolis. And so at that CPA firm, I worked mainly in the tax department with multifamily real estate developers, which is a really interesting field. But then after about 3 years, I decided to pivot and work for a more private company in the accounting and finance department.
How was your first experience at that firm?
So my first experience was awesome. So I started off as an intern during the winter busy season. And I think the concept of just working with a lot of really smart people was always really enticing to me. Kind of picking their brain and truly getting to learn something new every day was awesome.
How do you learn while having the responsibilities of taking care of other people's finances?
Yeah, no, I think the best way to learn on the job is ask as many questions as possible and try to be a sponge and soak everything in. I think obviously when you first start your career out, it's known that you're not going to have all the answers, but it's important that you can show that agility to think on your feet and that being able to ask the right questions.
And are these qualities that you've always had, or is that something that you've adapted to as you gain more experience in the industry?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think if you ask my mom, she would say, yeah, Robbie would never shut up, always kept asking why growing up. So I've kind of always had that natural curiosity about me. But also, the more that I learn, the more that I know, I started to ask more focused questions that help me get to that answer quicker.
Why did you decide to transition out of that firm and into something different?
Yeah, so I was looking for, as I start to transition into starting a family, want to look more into a better work-life balance.
How did you first hear about Taxfile?
Yeah, so after I left the CPA firm, I still wanted to maintain my tax knowledge and tax credentials, and so stay sharp in that field of expertise. And I actually came across Taxfile through a quick Google search and did some due diligence, had a few interviews, and everything seemed to align for me and end up being a great choice that I made.
Why did you think it was important to still keep those skills sharp?
Yeah, so I think being in the field of tax is kind of an esoteric skill where it's not widely known, but it's super important to have a knowledgeable tax pro for any company, no matter the size. And so for me, it kind of just helped keep the door open if I ever wanted to make that pivot back into a career of tax, or if I wanted to maybe start my own book of business, I might always have that skill set there and sharp.
How does Taxfile fit into your current life's goals?
Right now, I'd say more than anything, tax file. It's something to continue to maintain that technical accounting tax knowledge base that I am looking for. But at the same time, the flexibility has also allowed me to be able to set my own hours, my own guidelines if Flap does get a little bit busy, while also providing a pretty nice stream of income on the side.
We hear a lot about flexibility from our pros and how that's an ideal part of being on the platform. What does flexibility mean for you?
Yeah, so flexibility to me means that I can work anytime and anywhere. So for me, I could be on a beach down in Florida or back at my home in Indianapolis and still be able to log on and still answer any questions a client may have. There's not necessarily any deadlines that I'm tied down to or any meetings that I'm tied down to. So I could pop up online at 10 p.m. at night or 10 a.m. in the morning and still provide, that same level of customer service and professionality that's required.
And how has Taxfile helped with your financial goals?
Yeah, it's helped out a lot. Actually, I first started one of the first reasons I wanted to work with Taxfly was to help pay off or help afford an engagement ring for my fiance. And so I started this past fall, quickly met that goal, and then realized how great of a company Taxfile is and how well I fit into the system. So it's been great having that side stream of income.
And what were your initial expectations when you were in the process of joining the platform?
Yeah, so to be honest, my expectations weren't super high. Coming from a CPA firm, I kind of had the baked in expectations of, well, this probably won't be as great as what I'm used to, but let's give it a shot and see what happens. And so far, TaxFile has exceeded all of my expectations. I mean, it's been almost similar to what I experienced at the CPA firm.
How do you still find balance during tax season with Taxfile and your other job?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm big on making a calendar and maintaining that throughout the weeks and months. Just keeping a good gauge on my current 9 to 5 schedule, what projects I may have coming up, and what availability I do have to help out on the tax file side. So I think just keeping a good balance of the two and just being honest with the clients and the jobs that come in, not over serving myself, but also keeping a steady workload at the same time.
How did your first season with Taxfile compare to this year's tax season?
I would say this past tax season with tax file was a little bit better just because I had more of an expectation in line and knew the procedures and knew what to expect. It kind of put me in a better place to hit the ground running opposed to my first tax season with tax file where I was still kind of unsure of the processes, wasn't quite familiar with all of the client software and login interactions. So I think this most recent busy season with tax file was pretty seamless, honestly, and it was a great experience for me.
And how does a pro support team help you out when you reach situations that can need a little bit of troubleshooting?
Yeah, no, I mean, they've been extremely professional, whether it's answering my questions late at night or early in the morning, or just being quick to help me get, if I lose access to a certain software, they're able to hop in right away and help me out. Or it's if I have some kind of tax question that maybe I haven't come across before, it's reaching out to other tax pros, and they're always quick to respond and help me out.
So AJ, the director of pro relations, pointed out that you prefer handling business returns. Why is it that you find that to be your ideal niche?
Back at the CPA firm that I worked at, I worked primarily on partnership and S corp returns, and I've always enjoyed being able to go through a client's GL and see their activity and kind of help tell that story of, hey, here are the transactions. And on the surface level, you can say they made, or they bought XYZ or they spent XYZ amount of money, but being able to tie that all together to tell the story of, hey, is this company profitable? What expenditures are they seeing? So being able to, I guess, look at a business and be able to like piece together the entire story, tell that story through prepping their tax return, something I've always enjoyed doing.
How can Taxfile help other CPAs like yourself that left the public accounting industry but still want to keep their tax knowledge sharp?
So I would say working with Taxfile, it's not nearly as demanding as what a normal CPA firm would require. However, it gives you enough of a chance to still sharpen those skills by picking up as many returns that your schedule would allow for. So you're still maintaining those skills and that technical expertise, while also you're avoiding the burnout part that I think pushes a lot of people out from or away from CPA firms.
And outside of filing taxes, what is it that you like to do during your free time?
Yeah, so outside of filing taxes, I really enjoy playing golf. I'm not very good, but it's one of those where I'm hoping to get better as I keep playing. But it's been a great hobby. It not only helps me disconnect from my phone or computer, but it kind of gives me a new challenge to tackle outside of work. I also really enjoy the competitive nature and the strategy that goes into playing golf.
How long have you been playing?
So I've been playing for almost 4 years now, give or take. So my dad played in college a bit. And so for whatever reason, he never passed those skills down to me, which looking back on it, I wish he would have. So I'm kind of a newbie to the game of golf.
One of my friends picked it up and got me into the sport as well. And every time I'm just wondering, like, why did my parents even consider this sport for me?
Right.
What's your handicap right now?
My handicap right now is like 11.4, 11.5, somewhere in that range.
Hey, that's pretty good. I'm still a 14.
Yeah, I'm getting better. I play a lot of easy courses. Then when I go to the hard courses, that's where I really get my butt kicked.
Obviously you have your dad that played it competitively in college, but what is it that decided you to pick up the sticks and just head out there and try hitting that ball?
Yeah, so growing up, I was always playing some kind of sport, whether it was football, basketball, baseball. I mean, you name it, I played it. And then so once I graduated high school, I didn't play any sports in college or anything, and I really missed that competitive nature, that competitive edge. So for me, getting a little bit older, I really didn't want to start playing basketball and, tearing my ACL or anything like that. So I figured that I'd get some friends together, go play golf and compete a little bit and kind of get the blood flowing by still being competitive, but being able to get outside and touch grass was a win-win for me.
Well, thank you, Robert. Is there anything I may not have asked you that you think is important people know?
No, I don't think so.
That was this month's episode of Pro Spotlight. Please be sure to subscribe and follow us on social media for helpful tips, whether you run your own firm, are an accountant, or just want to know a little bit more about how to file taxes. Check out our blog at taxfile.com.